What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 575. I like that number of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week. We are going to break down all the things that we feel like talking about that happened in the world of sports entertainment over the past few days, including some rumors and some gossip and some TV recap and anything else that we feel like talking about. I'm Tony Mango, joined by Robert DeFelice.
Hello.
And Callum Wiggins.
5 ain't enough, I need 7. Actually, screw it, I'll go back to 5. 575.
575. Right. It's a good non-round number, but in my mind, those things kind of make sense as round numbers. It seems like it should be very balanced, not round numbers and like evens and odds and stuff. But I like when numbers are more like that instead of when we're on like episode like 542 or 31. I'm like, it seems off. I like my 5s and my 10s. So we're at a good spot right now for one of the final ends of the year type of hot tags. We do still have at least one edition of the hot tags left to go. I haven't quite figured out if we're going to do 2 more or 3 more for the end of the year. It's sort of depending on our schedules, but at least we got a couple things from this week to talk about. We got the PWI top 100 tag teams. We got some name changes. We got somebody who has declared themselves one of the biggest losers in AEW. It sounds so awful to say it that way. And some other stuff. So as we talk about these things, we want to know what you have to say about them. And since you aren't on the call with us right now and can't chime in with your thoughts verbally, you can do so in the comments below on YouTube. So go over there, click on that little comments button, and then start typing them out. And as you're doing a little tippity tap there on the keyboard, make sure you clickety clack all the things like the subscribe button if you haven't done that already, and ring that little notification bell. That way you know when we go live for tomorrow's double edition of the Pay-Per-View Point post show. We got ROH Final Battle, and then we've got NXT Deadline. So a lot more podcasts coming your way when it comes to just in the next 24 hours or so. Actually, more than 24 hours. That's what math works like. And then you've got the like button on there on YouTube. You got the share button as well if you want to pass this around to somebody who you think might be interested in checking out the podcast. And you can also see on there a little thanks button. That's a little tip jar kind of a thing. It's an alternative to clicking the join button, but I recommend that by all means because that is where you can get access to things like the Dark Cast, which we already recorded for this month. And that is much better off, I think, on the YouTube side of things. You can see the video that we are doing for that one, but you can also donate through the Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/smarkoutmoment, and you'll see the same Pick Your Poison tier and the $1 a month tier and everything. Exactly the same as the YouTube channel membership. The only difference is YouTube gives you video access and Patreon doesn't. So if you're more of a fan of one or the other, then consider donating and helping us out and helping us keep the lights on there. Also, if you pick up some merchandise on Redbubble or TeePublic, specifically, I should say, for the shop of Smark Out Moment, if you buy somebody else's shop, it doesn't really matter. But if you pick it up for that, or Fanboys Anonymous, or A Mango Tees, it's all funneling back to me, and I funnel my funds back into this podcast and pay an exorbitant amount of money for domain service things and stuff throughout the year, more than I've ever done before, and I'm not digging that. But hey, Google, here's a big middle finger. And another way for you to help us out, and this is completely non-monetary, it's totally free, it just takes about 2 or 3 minutes of your time, is to fill out the fan feedback survey that we have over on smarkoutmoment.com, which you can find on the link that you can see on your screen right now, or if you are listening to the audio-only versions, or you just don't want to type this out the way that it is, and you want to just go on a little clicking spree on the website, you can find it on the sidebar of smarkoutmoment.com. There's just a little indentation thing on there for current events, and I've got fan feedback survey right there for you to click on. And if you fill that out, that'll help us out a great bit in figuring out what we can do to improve the podcast and the website going forward. So we take your ideas of what you liked, what you didn't like from this year, what you'd like to see more of. For instance, in the year heading into 2022, I know that people had said that they really enjoyed the mock draft stuff and that they really enjoyed the Mount Rushmore. So we kind of put a little bit of a priority on those 2 segments as opposed to trying to do a little bit more of like the other kind of features that we've got going on. Like we didn't do another Wrestling is 2020 because there wasn't as much support for that one. There wasn't as much support for doing like one more match at the time. So hey, if you're like, I missed out on that this year, I really wish you guys would do more Superstar Scores or another Wrestling with the Past breakdown and kind of keep things general like that, let me know. And then we will take that all into consideration and apply that going forward. So take the time, fill out the fan feedback survey, and get back to us. And then we will make things better for you in 2023. So all that stuff is out of the way. Let's start talking about these hot tags. One of these being the Usos are the number 1 ranked tag team for 2022 on the PWI Top 100 Tag Teams list, which, of course, as per usual, has upset people because everybody these days, in particular, they cannot have an opinion without it being like, if you disagree, then you're wrong or I'm upset, or everybody thinking that they should be the number 1 tag team. And I think it was kind of funny that the Usos were like, there's a lot of salty tag teams out there. But I haven't gone through this full list yet. I can see some names that I can agree with and some names that I can do the usual, like, I would have moved them up, I would have moved them down, sort of things. Generally speaking, how do you guys feel about this?
Very indifferent, but as I go through the whole list, they're little shit. I don't think RK Bro is the number 6 tag team of the year. When you think about the year and how really Randy's been out the majority of the year, I think I would have moved up a team like Pretty Deadly. They won titles twice. Sasha and Naomi feels weird that they're in the top 20. There's little things like that, but at the end of the day, it's all silly.
Yeah, it's just a rankings list like any other rankings list. There's some stuff that people will disagree with because it's just not in the order people want it to be in. But, it's, for the most part, you're really just concentrating on the top, like 3 or 5 teams, and that's kind of all that really matters. And they've likely got the number 1 team. Yeah, you could have a toss-up between probably the top 2 teams on the list and just say, one of them should be number 1 and the other one should be number 2. And whether it's the Usos or FTR, essentially those 2 are probably the best 2 teams in 2022, and they're at number 1 and number 2. So the rest of it really couldn't care less.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the way that people approach these lists depends on how they would take the idea of ranking things in general. Like when we get to the recordings for next week for the end of the year awards we're going to do for AEW and WWE, there is always a difference between, even if we agree on something, we can sometimes have a different approach to it when it comes to best mic skills or like the worst heel of the year. Sometimes, like I know, for instance, like Callum has made the argument in the past that he'll pick like the worst heel will be the person who doesn't get booed, but they get cheered. Whereas somebody like on my end of things, I tend to pick worst heel will be the person that I enjoy the least. So it's almost my least favorite heel more than worst heel. And when it comes to ranking tag teams or ranking wrestlers or anything like that, do you go based off of the ring skills? Do you go based off of the character work? Do you go based off of the accolades? And you can argue, for instance, FTR being number 2. Well, they should have been number 1 because they're the best tag team because they have the best matches. That's a subjective thing, and people forget about that all the time. But you could also say, yeah, but you know what? The Usos had good matches too, and they unified tag titles on the bigger shows, and they held the title for a record amount. Do the accolades beat out the other accolades? Is it more important that we've got 3 sets of titles for FTR versus 2 sets of titles for the Usos? Or is it more important that they're in WWE versus, AAA? Do you put a lot of stock in that? When I'm approaching a list like this, I, of course, always rule out about half of it because I'm like, all right, I have no clue, for instance, who Hazuki and Koguma are for Fukuoka Double Crazy. I don't have the slightest idea what those names are. So I can't be like, they shouldn't be number 5 and shit. They might be fucking amazing. Or they could be dog shit for all I know. But I do look at some of the names and I go, kind of curious why the Young Bucks are lower than the Good Brothers. Were they really doing a whole lot of good stuff, the Good Brothers?
Well, they were tag team champions for a long time in
An Impact?
So, yeah, again, PWI takes a lot of kayfabe elements into account. So,
and the Briscoes, for what I'm aware of, ROH was pretty much mostly defunct outside of just a few appearances from the Briscoes because they weren't popping up on AEW television. So I'm like, the Briscoes are number 3, more so than Death Triangle.
GCW.
Yeah,
that's where they're mostly doing. Okay.
They're also the Impact. They're also Impact World.
That's
Tag
right. They did go to
year.
Impact
They're
too.
also Ring of Honor Tag Champions. So yeah.
Yeah. So like those are blind spots for me for sure. And I know I've heard of some of the names that I haven't really. Like, I can't tell you too much about United Empire outside of the fact that I know I've seen them on AEW television. I know who Jeff Cobb is. I don't know Great O'Khan as much. So, yeah, I know that they're in New Japan. I know that they've been doing good stuff that people have liked, but I couldn't ever do a ranking list like this. That's why whenever you see the tier lists and stuff in the Smark Moment, it's always like WWE or AEW, the 2 shows I watch. And I can see why certain people can be in their lists and why certain people can be higher or lower. I mean, like, instinctively to me, the Acclaimed being number 20 is like, that's so low. But then I'm like, yeah, but then if I don't know a good portion of the 1 to 20 list, I can't realistically say that the Acclaimed should be number 8 or something. So you'll see a different approach when it comes to the AEW and the WWE end of the year stuff for Smark Moment compared to this.
Does also surprise me a little bit that they seem to not rank tag teams that no longer exist. That disbanded during 2022 because, lest we forget, obviously because they started feuding quite soon afterwards, but Jurassic Express were tag team champions in AEW for nearly half the year.
Are they not on the list?
And then they're not on the list at all.
Really?
That's a massive oversight, I would think. Then,
oversight. So, but that goes to show you how much stock can you put in this.
Especially when you compare, they're not on the list, but the Butcher and the Blade are. The Varsity Blondes are. Are they not called the Varsity Blondes anymore?
They're just blondes. They're not allowed to use Varsity. Mark Sterling.
It's another team uses Varsity.
Oh, that's right, the Varsity Athletes. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
I have to change that for my my list of tag teams then. Bollywood Boys are on here. Los Lotharios are on here. There's a team called Milk Chocolate. That's funny. Yeah, so it's like if you're going to put a spot on this list for where Private Party, who didn't do it jack shit, and then you're not going to put it for Jurassic Express, that already calls into question what some of this is. And as these 2 guys have said, and I'll echo, it's just a stupid list. It's not the end of the world or anything. So I'm sure like the Usos being number 1, they're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, we really like that. That's something to add to our Wikipedia page. And then they move on because there's far more important things to do.
Is there though?
Well, I mean, they've got SmackDown. 1 episode of SmackDown is arguably more important than this. As far as the tapings when it comes to SmackDown and all that goes, I've lost a little bit of track of this, but this week isn't when they're going to do the recordings for the next couple weeks, right? That's next week?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that it's next week they're going to do like a double recording of NXT and a double recording of SmackDown. I haven't quite figured out what's going on with Raw yet. I don't remember if they said something, but when we get into that for next week, we're going to try to give you some like spoiler breakdowns and stuff, but we don't have that for you this week at the very least. Let's talk about, as far as top 100 losers versus winners. Here's somebody who finally reached the 100 loss mark for AEW. So our top loser of the year and top loser of all time, essentially in AEW. And you'll hear this name probably pop up again on our end of the year awards. Serpentico is officially the biggest loser in AEW history at this point. He had a good tweet about it. He was like, "You've been counting all this time?" I think it said that he had won like 1 match this year on AEW Dark Elevation or something. Got to be an interesting job. Especially since he also has more losses racked up under the John Cruz name, so he's technically over 100 at this point. What do you guys think about Serpentico reaching that mark?
Amazing. This is what wrestling is. Let me tell you. This guy is a 100-time loser, but he's not as much of a loser as that John Cruz. That guy sucks.
I think it's a testament to how good he is, really. Because even though it just sounds counterintuitive because he loses all the time, it's the fact that they keep going back to him as a jobber for people. It's a case of like, yeah, this guy we can trust to have good matches against basically anybody, put people over, no questions asked. Because realistically, they could just have just a bevy of local jobbers and enhancement talent, but they keep this guy around to be their staple jobber. That's an important role, so I think he should be commended for it.
And I mean, the phrase jobber comes in the idea of it's a job. Like he's paid to do a job, and he does it. He goes out there, he makes people look strong. He tosses around his body whenever they want to flip him in the one direction. He flips in that way and makes people look good. So hats off to Serpentico for pulling that off. I don't know if I would have necessarily thought that he would have reached that mark more than some other people. I think at the very, very, very beginning of AEW, I thought that there was a chance that they were actually going to be they being Chaos Project, that they could like maybe be a somewhat decent enough team. And then it very quickly became, never mind, they're going to lose every match. But I didn't see any kind of list that said maybe who was like close to being the number 2 or not. But there's certain people that have lost every single match, it seems. So I guess it might just be more of a factor that he's wrestled more often enough to lose 100. And here's to loss number 200 then. Cheers. Let's talk about some ring names. After all this kind of hush about it, I don't know why that was the case. Valerie Loureda finally has her ring name announced to the public. We know that she is going to be Lola Vice. And I gotta say, I kind of like it. It sounds a little reminiscent to me of that kind of, I mean, we have a whole segment built around it called Superstar or Porn Star, where it's like, it could be either, you know? And a lot of good wrestling names are like that. They're on that spectrum of, I could see you being in the adult entertainment business or the sports entertainment business. And it's got a lot of the, you know, her name is obviously, it's a V name and then an L name. So this is an L name and a V name. I like when they do that, not quite alliteration, but you know what I'm getting at, where it's sort of like, all right, your name is very close to this in some fashion. You're going to go with something that you're not going to get tongue tied over. You're not going from Valerie Loureda to Amy Jones or something. Lola Vice works.
I like the name. I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of the hush-hush nature of it. I think that they were just not ready to have her wrestle.
Well, she had been wrestling on the live events. But they were like, she said like, oh, I've got my name, I've got my ring name, and you'll figure it out eventually. And then they kind of waited about like 2 or 3 months since she had said that. And it was always like, she wrestled on a live event. We still don't know what her name is. There's a whole subsection of people that were following this enough, and I was one of them, I guess.
That's weird. I'm sorry. That's strange to me. But Lola Vice is good. It's one of the better WWE names.
I'm kind of indifferent towards it. It's fine. It's just a name.
Yeah. I mean, it's not one of those names that at first you just go, ugh. Like, I remember when I first heard Dolph Ziggler, I was like, that's what you're fucking naming this guy? Dolph Ziggler? Ugh. But then again, I mean, there's better names out there too. So I didn't have a gut reaction of it the way that I did with like Ava Raine, even, where I was just like, Ava Raine? I'm not seeing it. It's fine now, whatever. But I track my
go-to here is always Lucky Cannon.
I mean, Lucky Cannon, again, that superstar porn star type name, like that's perfect for that. Very dumb name when it comes to trying to be like, you know, a tough heel or something. Can't be Lucky Cannon, and you know, there you go for WrestleMania. It's Lucky Cannon versus John Cena or something. But you know, everybody gets a naming at this point. So there's a list of How many different people do we not have ring names for yet? About 20 men right now in WWE that don't have a ring name yet. Like Gabe Y, Tavion Heights, etc. And then you've got a list of about 20 or so women as well. Two of them we don't even know if they're necessarily signed. Gabby Butler and Melanie. God knows how to pronounce her name. I'm sorry. It starts BRZ.
She is absolutely signed.
Well, they haven't announced her yet as far as the group class, so I haven't put her in that. But like, you know, there's a lot of like Harley White and Leah Mitchell. I mean, so we're gonna get some more ring names down the line. But yeah, Lola Vice works. Why not? So I've had her to the list of all the different lists that I've got for those people that track that stuff. But this is a name that I'm not as big of a fan of. W. Morrissey, William Morrissey, Big Cass, Kaz XL, which I didn't like that name either. He's going by Big Bill now.
Yeah,
and
is.
It's not even just Big Bill the way that it is. It's B-I, 2 capital G's, B-I, 2 capital L's.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's how
for Rampage they have it as 1G.
They do, but for his Twitter, he had tweeted out that that's like the spelling of it.
Oh boy!
So it's it's interesting. It looks like you're going for something a little bit more fun than W. Morrissey. I'll say that because W. Morrissey could very easily just be like a clothing brand or something bland like that. You know, we got a W hotel here in New York where it's just like a big W, and it's like every time I pass by that, I'm like, you know, W. Morrissey could just be the person who bought that hotel or something. But Big Bill gives me more of like that old school wrestling hokey kind of feel to it, you know? Cowboy Big Bill is wrestling Slapjack Calhoun or something. And, I'm not a huge fan.
Jack Calhoun. Okay.
Yeah, you'd fucking watch that match, wouldn't you? Pros, cons, thumbs up, thumbs down.
It's silly, but I lived with the Big Show for years, so you know, like, fine.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's pretty memorable, actually. I think it helps. He's done it in a way. He sold it in a way which is different and unique, or somewhat unique. I know there's a lot of people in the arts world that do that kind of uppercase, lowercase, mix it all up approach. So he's just applying it here, and would help him stand out on the AEW roster because not many people style it that way. Yeah, and it's just short and memorable. As I say, Rob just could probably a good example. The Big Show's a dumb name. Big Boss Man is a dumb name.
Yeah. Most of the big names.
Most. Yeah. Well, to be fair, a lot of really memorable wrestling names are dumb. The Undertaker is a dumb name.
That's true. Triple H.
Especially considering Triple H is like
is a dumb name.
Yeah, it's so funny how Triple H is just like, it's just Trips and it's Triple H, and you know, everybody kind of just goes with this Hunter Hearst Helmsley thing, despite the fact that everybody knows that he's Paul Levesque. And even when you're transferring out of that, they've done it with Kane, where they're like, okay, we'll call him Mayor Glenn Jacobs once in a while. We don't really call him Mayor Kane, but Triple H is just still Triple H and Hunter and all. And something that dawned on me recently, I forgot to bring it up on a previous podcast or anything. Maybe you guys can think of some example for this, and maybe if you leave a comment below. There's so many instances of people calling Undertaker Taker, and people calling, you know, like anybody who like they go by one part of their name, you can call them another part of their name or something. But I can't think of any situation where somebody just referred to Triple H as Triple. Can you?
What?
Because it has to have happened at some point.
No, it hasn't.
It has to have.
Why would it have to happen?
Because there's somebody out there definitely just thought that was his name and referred to him as Triple, like your first name is Triple H. Triple H being like that. It has to have happened.
I'm sure that has happened.
Yeah.
I'm sure that has happened on some sort of talk show that,
right. That's what I mean. Like
wrestlers in the Attitude Era, but had no idea what wrestling was. They just was interviewing people because it was popular at that point.
That's exactly what I mean, though. Like, he goes on, like, say, Regis and Kathy Lee or whatever, and they're just kind of like, so Triple, tell me about it. And I want to see a clip of that if anybody has that. So if you can think of an example, drop a comment below and let me know, because or like a promo or something. Like I could picture just some wrestler like I don't know, like a Shelton Benjamin or something, just being like, and let me tell you something here, Triple, I'm gonna beat you.
What? Why, man? Like...
I'm curious. So. BiGG BiLL, if he's going to go with the 2 G's and the 2 L's, I don't know if this is going to become like a Jeff Jarrett type thing. That's BiGG BiLL, or if this is going to stick in a different way or not. But we don't even have a confirmation that he's signed with AEW yet still, right?
I thought we did.
Did they ever put up that W. Morrissey is all elite graphic or anything? As far as I'm aware, he hadn't been. He's not on the website. But then again, the website's like half up to date and half not. Like they added like Josh Woods and some of those other people. Then they have people on there that I'm pretty sure have been gone for a little while. Not a big fan of the AEW website. For that matter, the WWE one either. But at least the WWE one's better. So let's talk about a still unknown situation when it comes to what this will be called. There's no like official announcement, but it seems like there's more and more chatter about it. So I've got it on my calendar for next year. Seems like WWE is going to be holding a special event pay-per-view of some sort in India on January 18th. This is at the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Gachibowli Indoor Stadium in Hyderabad, India. And that's go by another name too. It's like the GBC Indoor Stadium or something along those lines. But the point being more so a potential pay-per-view right before the Royal Rumble focusing on India. And there was another report that came out, I think it might have been Meltzer that had said this, but that one of the reasons why that they didn't do this Veer and Sangha match at NXT Deadline was because Veer is working through a little bit of an injury, and they want to make sure that he is actually good to go for this India show. I am not feeling like this is something that they really need to necessarily do at the beginning of the year, right before Royal Rumble, if it's going to include main roster talent, because I think we're going to get back into that Superstar Spectacle side of things where it was completely pointless and it meant nothing at all. But if this is just kind of some people that they're going to showcase for the Indian market, and it's not going to be factoring in, like, they're not going to try to get Roman Reigns there. They're not going to try to build like actual pay-per-view storyline stuff. It might be all right just to kind of have some random matches or something. I really hope it's not called Superstar Spectacle, because I thought that name was terrible.
They'll probably call it Superstar Spectacle because they own it.
Probably.
Why bother?
Yeah.
I think they should try to get Roman. I think they should try to do a stadium show. The fans there deserve a show. I don't know if they need to stream it, but the fans there deserve a big show.
Paul White?
Yes.
Anything you'd like to see as far as like, maybe they focused on certain talent, have any matches, or
Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal, baby.
Former WWE champion. Cal's probably just shaking his head right now. Just fuck this. I
don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't care. It's a stadium show. I'm not gonna get Romans on it or anyone's in it. That's a big return of Cody Rhodes. Don't care. I'm not gonna watch it.
Even though this isn't the Saudi Arabia thing, you still just wouldn't be interested in checking it out?
No, it's not even about that. It's because it's a bunch of people who, again, it's not about, that sounds like I was going to go into a giant rant about stuff that shouldn't happen. What I'm trying to say is it's a market that WWE is trying to tap into, but they completely, they hire a lot of Indian talent, but they do absolutely nothing with that Indian talent. The only Indian talent they have done something with is Jinder Mahal, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. And they do the thing which, again, I think I've heard other people talk about this, but like it baffles me as well. Why are all their foreign talent heels? Or the majority of the Indian talent they've ever hired have always wrestled as heels. Like Jinder, the Bollywood Boys, Veer and Shanky, and now Veer and Sangha. Like, if you're actually trying to make real inroads into India and like trying to present it as this is a really big market you want to tap into, you want to have some big stars that will draw in India, why don't you make them baby faces and push them?
I mean, Shanky dancing isn't gonna work for you?
No, not really. Or just any of the random other ones, like just put Guru Raj on a show and have him get beat by Dolph Ziggler or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing that I'm worried about. Is like a guy like a Guru Raj. They put him on Superstar Spectacle. They had him against Finn Balor, and they treated him like he's going to be some future talent to watch out for. The guy's done fuck all in 2 years.
Whoa. Hold on, dude. Nobody said he was going to be a major breakout star.
Listen back to the commentary on there. They're all like, "Oh, he put up a great fight. Like we got to really watch out for it." But that's
for them.
But that's what I mean. They're still marketing it like that. And then when you see him on NXT, and the guy pops up once every 2 months to get his ass whooped, and then you're like, now that he might potentially wrestle on this Indian show, they'll be like, "Oh, we've seen this great talent on NXT, and you know he's somebody to really be a part of this future." And it's like, no, he's not. No, he isn't. Stop it. You know.
I mean, it's just the whole argument surrounding this. Like how for a long time they've been looking for the next Rey Mysterio to be the Latin American superstar to appeal to the Mexican market, and like, well, you're not going to do that when you're just constantly beating Andrade and Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo and Santos Escobar like a drum on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you actually have to push them, let them win titles, let them win matches, and feature them prominently. Ideally, make one of them a fucking babyface, because all the people I just mentioned were heels.
Yeah, see, like, I'd like to see, for instance, and this is going to be something that we kind of talked about when it came to the NXT Deadline stuff and all, but if, for instance, the New Day were to win the NXT Tag Team titles at Deadline, I'd be pretty cool with the idea of the New Day against Veer and Sangha at this show, and Veer and Sangha win the NXT Tag Team titles. I think that could be something that they could potentially do, where it's like, look, you get the New Day, they're big names, and they're interesting characters, and they're fun, and they're defending a title, and there's a title change, and it's an Indian tag team that wins. That would be the type of stuff that I'd like. What I don't want to see is like Guru Raj against AJ Styles, and they're just sort of like, won't that match be kind of fun? And it's like, no, he's going to beat Guru Raj, and then we're going to move on, and it's not going to matter. I'm very curious about the name. More than anything else, I don't want this to get into the plans of Royal Rumble and mess anything up. I'd rather it be like a do-nothing show than something that they kind of try to build and then they have to rush some Royal Rumble stuff into, because ultimately it doesn't matter as much as Royal Rumble by any means. So I don't want like, I don't know. This is a random match that they haven't announced anything for Royal Rumble yet, so we don't know. But for instance, I don't want a follow-up match between like Seth Rollins and Austin Theory for the United States Championship to be, okay, we're going to build that, we're going to announce it for this Superstar Spectacle show, and then the match ends in some kind of weird DQ, but we're going to have another follow-up at Royal Rumble. I absolutely hate it when that happens. So
I don't think we're getting that. I think we're going to get a lot of what we saw at
that Superstar Spectacle.
At Superstar Spectacle, but this time
in front of a crowd instead of at the
crowd, yeah,
the Thunderdome.
And I think, and to be honest, I think that that's fine. Like, give that crowd a show. We don't have to watch it. We might, but you know, at the end of the day, it's for them. It's not for us. So be it.
So let's talk about some TV stuff, and we'll eventually round this out with some updates on the ROH Final Battle card with AEW Talk.
Before we go to TV stuff, I just want to run through what they've announced so far for a card at MSG, because there's one match that looks like there's no way they actually run this at a live event, but it's the return of Bray Wyatt to MSG. There's an 8-man tag where it's Drew, Kevin, Braun, and Sheamus against the Bloodline, sans Roman. And then there's an IC title fatal 5-way ladder match, putting Gunther defending against Shinsuke, Ricochet, Kofi, and Santos. Like, I don't know if you're taping that, but if you are, I'd like to see that. That sounds like a fun match to watch.
I'd be down for that. Gunther being the guy that's holding down all these flippy dudes.
You should go. It's at the Garden.
When is it?
It's the 26th.
I won't be able to then. Flying back on the 25th. It was going to be too crazy. Shame. Maybe they'll film it. Maybe they'll put it up on something. We'll be able to check that out. But yeah, let's get into going back to Monday Night Raw, talking about what happened there. Usos beat Matt Riddle and Kevin Owens as his tag team partner following the attack from Elias backstage. So the 2 tag team matches that we were supposed to get for this week both have changed. It was supposed to be Matt Riddle and Elias against the Usos, and then eventually the winner of that against Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. Drew McIntyre is out with apparently a ruptured eardrum, same thing as Roman Reigns going on right now. So that's going to be Butch and Sheamus instead, which is nowhere near as fun. Yeah, I mean, obviously Butch is great and all, but the gimmick behind it was the 2 big world champions against the Usos. You just make it 2 out of 3 of the members of the Brawling Brutes, and we've already kind of seen it. So that's disappointing. The Usos retained. I'm sure they're going to retain against Butch and Sheamus as well. Thoughts on any of these things? You guys just kind of in the same boat that I am, where it's like, oh, we're filling time. It doesn't matter.
I hope that Elias got hit on the head and he thinks he's Ezekiel.
Or Elrod.
Not Elrod. We don't need more than 2. I like the Umaga tribute. That
was cool. He should do that more often. That should be one of his signature moves.
That should just be his move now. He should just do this Moan Swag. And I was looking forward to Sheamus and Drew, so I'm sad that they're not fighting.
It's just getting filling time, as you say, as we all do, as we march inevitably towards death. That's what we do. We just
it's happening sooner than we think.
Yeah, we just fill time up until that point. And but I like the Solo Sikoa attack on Matt Riddle. I'm kind of hoping this rules out Matt Riddle until the end of the year, until next year, and then they can go into a feud with each other, because without Randy Orton, Riddle is kind of pointless.
He's been really struggling this year, and this is a topic that we're going to talk about for the end of the year awards when it comes to not necessarily downgrades, but in a way a downgrade, because it's like at the beginning of the year, Riddle was really, firing off on all cylinders, and then this RK Bro thing, they could have done the Randy Orton feud, and they decided to keep it going, and Randy Orton gets bit with an injury, and for how many months at this point? Maybe 5 or so that it's been, maybe even longer than that now I'm thinking about it. Riddle's just sort of been floating aimlessly. He's got a couple feuds here and there. He'll tag with somebody against the Bloodline, and then 5 weeks later they'll come back to it. He'll start something with Austin Theory, and then the next week he's got a program with Seth Rollins, and then a couple weeks after that he's got a bone to pick with Omos or something. He's just sort of kind of bouncing around with no direction, and I'm hoping that this isn't an actual injury that he is taking some time off for, but more of a creative, has nothing for you, let's just take some time off and come back around the Royal Rumble type. No, it's been no information about it, right? He's not he's got a broken foot or I haven't come across anything either.
That's just, it's more just the hope of taking him off TV, because I think he's just been overexposed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they relied on him way too heavily. When McMahon was still doing stuff, they relied on him way too heavily. And then afterwards, and with the news that, we haven't talked about it too much, but with the news that Randy might legit just not come back.
Mm-hmm.
It's all pretty a bummer, you know?
I'm still hoping, obviously, that that's just something where they're like, hey, it's pretty bad. Take a lot of time off and come back when you're ready. Because obviously I want Randy Orton to come back. But if that ends up being the case, it's going to be another one of those situations where it's like, stop waiting. Do the feuds. You don't have infinite amount of time for this stuff. So anyway, let's move on to the stuff that we had throughout this episode about the Poker Invitational from JBL. Overall, I like this kind of stuff because it's a little through line for the episode and it explains what people are doing backstage. So they're not just constantly hanging around the locker room with other people that they are potentially feuding with. It's not the best material by any means, but it's something and it can lead to some matches and all. And we eventually got the OC against Alpha Academy and Baron Corbin. Not the strongest feud. That's not super, super important. And we got Dominic against Akira Tozawa, which Tozawa's got a lot more attention these days. Triple H definitely stood in there and was just like, can you go back to the Tozawa that I actually signed instead of the gi wearing 24/7 obsessed lunatic? You know? So
Big fan of what they're doing with him, just because, you know, it shows that he knows that people need to be used.
Any other thoughts, Cal? About any of this stuff? Poker stuff? Dominic? Blah, blah.
No, it's crap. No, it's all crap. and what are you talking about? Like they're using Sal in the case that he's on television, still being jobbed all the time.
Yeah, he's still losing.
He's no longer wearing a ninja outfit. And he's not wearing his ninja outfit anymore. He's wearing his old attire, and he's still losing. Huh.
I think it's still a step up.
Great change of pace and character that was.
I'd consider it a step up, having something where you can have a match with Dominic and put him over like that instead of running around backstage trying to kiss Tamina and stumbling over a potted plant or whatever. I consider it a step up.
Well, yeah, he was getting a lot more TV time and doing more comedy stuff. But yeah, I mean, it depends on what he's after. If he just wants to wrestle and that's it, then I'm sure he is a lot happier now. But if he actually wanted to get like time on TV and be somewhat prominently featured, then he's actually worse off now than he was under McMahon.
What did you guys think about this Bayley beating Rhea Ripley and Asuka, and then Alexa Bliss beating Nikki Cross and Becky Lynch setup? We got Bliss against Bayley coming in the future.
So I think it was the smart thing to do in the first match, because the whole premise of the first match is that you have Bayley get the victory over Rhea Ripley and Asuka, which was somewhat surprising because I think a lot of people picked Rhea Ripley to win.
That's what I did.
But they got with Bayley, and it's smart because you immediately suspect that once Bayley wins, okay, well Becky's got to win the other triple threat because they're clearly building towards Becky versus Bayley as a feud. So, but then they swerve you and they have Alexa get the victory instead, which makes sense for two reasons. One, it means that Becky can get involved in that match and cost Bayley the victory against Alexa Bliss, and Alexa Bliss can stay babyface for that portion of it. But it's clear that she's turning heel when she's joining Bray Wyatt. So,
Yeah.
Which is weird because Bray Wyatt isn't a heel. But Alexa is going to turn heel feuding with Bianca as a member of, I don't know if it's a Wyatt faction thing. I mean, clearly it's Wyatt related because that symbol keeps coming up every time. But maybe she's not turning heel. Maybe she's just going to be, crazy kooky Alexa again.
Which I've said countless times, I'm not interested in seeing her teaming back up with Bray Wyatt. I don't see the point. I don't think that character was all that interesting, and I'm not down for it whatsoever.
Yeah,
so,
well,
it's kind of like a lose-lose, because to me, I'm like, shit, either they're going to probably do that with Alexa, or Bayley wins another fucking title shot against Bianca.
It's not gonna be Bayley. Bayley is gonna fight. Well, I don't know when she'll fight Becky because I presume they're both gonna be in the Rumble. So, but we'll see how that goes. I think that, yeah, the obvious choice is going to be Alexa against Bianca. And I'm kind of, like, I'm not a fan of the Alexa Bliss themed character, but it's obvious that most people are, or at least a good majority of people who are willing to put their hands in their wallets and buy merchandise are. So I don't blame them for taking that course of action. It seems that, yeah, because realistically, Alexa doesn't draw as much or doesn't get as much attention if she's not the themed character. So this is an opportunity for them to right that wrong and try and, I guess, put an end to that story, or like evolve it to the next step and then lead it to an actual quote unquote satisfying conclusion. Again, I probably won't enjoy it, but a lot of people on Twitter and a lot of people that watch the show on a week-to-week basis actually will. So,
Callum, are you suggesting that many WWE fans on Twitter just use Fiend images and Alexa Lily doll images for their avatars?
well, I presume quite a few do, yeah, because, like, well, yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, obviously, that's who you're appealing to here, but also, I'm coming from the perspective of, no, I don't want to see it happen again. But yeah, I am kind of okay with them going, no, we're gonna do something here because we have to do something proper instead of just acting like it never happened. And I'm assuming Bliss gets the win next week. And then on the last show of the year, whatever they do with Wyatt will make its presence felt as she's wrestling Bianca. And then maybe she wins the belt. Who the hell knows? I don't really have a preference one way or the other. I'm just glad that it doesn't seem like they're going to go, all right, well, it's Becky versus Bayley, which means either way this goes, you're getting either Becky Bianca or Bayley Bianca, because I think we saw those two matches far too much.
Mm-hmm. I'm at least crossing my fingers that maybe if they're doing this whole dark Alexa Bliss tapping into the Harley Quinn thing all over again, which look, I fucking love Harley Quinn, but man, these past few years have just been way too much into people being like, that's my identity is I love Harley Quinn. And it's like, don't ruin the character for me, motherfuckers. You know,
the rewrite on that character is heavy.
There's so much, like, we could do deep dives when it comes to this on Fanboys Anonymous, but there are so many fandom politics that goes into Harley Quinn of people being like, I want to fucking like the Joker and I want to fucking like female Joker and I want to be, you know, basing my personality about this, and we can do that. And, you know, Liv Morgan's tapped into that, and of course Alexa has. So I'm crossing my fingers if they go with this whole dark Alexa Bliss thing, that there's I could say three major things that they do or avoid, I should say, more so. I do not want her to be paired with Bray Wyatt. This Bray Wyatt shit's been annoying as hell to me as it is, but I don't want them to just be like, and we're doing the team again.
I got bad news for you there, but go ahead.
It seems like that's most likely going to be the case because they are doing the whole, like, you know, the Wyatt thing keeps popping up. So if it was just her turning heel, why keep attributing it to that? So I'm disappointed in that. Number two, the positive could be maybe they get rid of this awful theme, because I absolutely hate Alexa's theme. And the third would be, I really don't want the doll to come back. Which,
boy,
of course,
you're batting zero, bro. Like,
yep.
Yeah, what do you mean?
What was that? You're still cutting out.
Back. The doll's there.
The doll is still there.
Let's say the doll's come back. The doll is there.
Like, I don't want her to be talking to the doll and making it all about the fucking doll. Where it's just like, it's the Lily and Alexa show.
It sells.
I know. That's why I'm just kind of like, these are the three reasons why, like, I don't like this kind of thing. So the last thing I need is for them to do the Wyatt stuff and the Lily stuff and keep that terrible theme. Then I'm just going to be like, fuck, every time that she comes on, I'm going to want to mute my TV and skip the segment, you know?
The thing they might change, but because I don't think it fits with the Fiendess, as they were calling her character.
Yeah. I want her to just be a heel. if that's the case. And you can, make her do some, like, obviously her ring gear would change up and they'd change her makeup and everything like that. But I don't want her to be fake Harley Quinn. I want her to be a new type of Alexa Bliss. You know what I mean?
A punchline. Because Liv Morgan is
punchline's another whole thing when it comes to, we could talk about Batman and the whole, like, okay, we'll make a new Harley Quinn and this one's evil because Harley's not evil anymore. Fanboysanonymous.com, everybody. If you want more of this discussion where we break down those things, let us know.
I do want to shout out one of the greatest things Callum ever said in relation to constantly trying to redeem the villain. It's not necessary. Just let them be the villain, and that's okay. But in the case of Bliss, at least it's something for her, because she's been walking around aimless all year and for no reason. Like, she's openly said, I've been cleared, they're just not using me. So it's very apparent that they had plans for the Wyatt thing, it fell apart, and after that, they didn't know what to do with her. So I'm glad she's getting used.
And I'm sure that this is part of her being like, I want to do the whole Twisted Bliss thing all over again, because she's expressed that she's not done with that either. So I'm not going to get what I want. I'm reserved to that idea that when it comes to 2023, I'm probably going to end up having a lot of segments where I'm just like, I don't like this, and then moving on and all. But, whatever. Hey, James Gunn's gonna reboot most of the DC universe, so maybe we'll get a different
Injustice. So sounds good to me.
You think he's gonna build it around Injustice?
He said he posted a picture of an Injustice setting, so he's gonna build it around Injustice.
I thought that he had posted Kingdom Come and said that he was just like planning on stuff, and it was just a general like meeting conference table. Justice is overrated. Kingdom Come would be a lot more interesting, but I'd rather see them not go down that route either. I want to talk more fucking superhero stuff. Support more fanboys content, everybody. Let's talk about NXT, at least the parts that we didn't really break down, because we did do the majority of it when we talked about the NXT deadline predictions, which nothing has changed so far. But one thing that we didn't talk about when it came to, hey, why don't they do a North American title match, and Creed Brothers aren't wrestling, and blah, blah, blah. We didn't talk about Charlie Dempsey beats Hank Walker, and Drew Gulak popped up there. So there could be potentially a tag team, Gulak and Dempsey. You can see a feud between Gulak and Dempsey going forward. I'm interested.
I'm more interested in the tag team, because I think that would give Drew more longevity. This was good. This was very heavy-handed. Hey, we have Regal again, because they were talking about how, it's so similar to Fit Finlay and Dave Taylor, and I think Hank Walker even mentioned his father, not by name, but they did mention him, and then he went with the Regal stretch. So, yay, Charlie Dempsey's being used. William Regal is confirmed to come back to the fold. I like Drew Gulak. I think one of the coolest matches ever was right before the pandemic, him and Bryan on pay-per-view. It was just like an opening match. And this could be good all around.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything negative about good wrestlers teaming up or having good wrestling matches with each other. So this does lead somewhere to them being a kind of, I don't know if it needs mentor type relationship, but it can be like a coach type role for Drew Gulak. Knows that he's in probably the back end of his career, can see someone like Charlie Dempsey coming up and decide, okay, this is a guy I can hitch my wagon to, and they can build up a partnership through that. If anything, as long as he gets Drew on TV, because I don't know how, from what I've seen of Charlie Dempsey, he seems perfectly serviceable on the microphone, but I don't think he's particularly, he doesn't have kind of the
he's not The Rock.
He has a different type of charisma. He has a kind of dangerous man, a few words type of charisma about him. Whereas Drew Gulak is very charismatic and can be kind of a bit more boisterous and a bit more animated and get that kind of level of attention for him.
Listen, and if they don't decide to run with a full program and it's a one-off match, I think Drew Gulak has a future as the AV guy for Andre Chase University, because who still uses PowerPoint presentations? Universities. This is where we need to go if we don't go with Charlie Dempsey. I want to see more of Drew.
Gulak being a part of Andre Chase University, it's definitely something that's like, it's staring you at the face, right? Like, he, of course, is like this trainer type and a goofy character and all. Like, it all lines up perfectly. If we were doing one of those Time Machine Dream Team type episodes where we're trying to figure out who else could be in Chase U, Gulak would definitely 100% be in there.
I also have to say on every podcast now, Thea Hale is the best thing on NXT. Bar none.
I've already written up one of my end of the year types things where I'm giving her one of the best babyface of the year type spots. So, predictions when it comes to SmackDown tonight. We got Shotzi and Shayna again. That's better be better than the last time.
Shotzi gets squashed.
More so the idea, Kurt Angle's going to be there for a birthday celebration. Anything you think is going to happen?
So we're not in the pandemic era anymore, and I know this was something they leaned into a lot. Where they would just be like, and this week we're doing the 25th anniversary of Triple H because we need time to fill. So I'm hoping it leads to something decent, but it could just be, hey, Angle's here because we're in his hometown, and maybe he pours milk on Sami Zayn or something. I don't know. But like, I would like for it to lead somewhere, but we know he can't wrestle. So
yeah, he said recently something about he would wrestle for $10 million. I think it's what the number was.
He said he would wrestle 10 matches for AEW for, I think, like $500,000 a match.
Oh, okay. That's the difference.
Well, half. I think Angle will eventually do a tag match like Ricky Steamboat, like Ric Flair, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. I just hope he interacts with him again.
So you think it's more of a bloodline thing?
Yeah.
I was actually thinking more of a Gunther thing.
It could be that too. As long as you don't put him in there with Strowman.
Why Strowman? What's random?
Because Strowman's been feuding with Imperium. And
eventually
we're going to get, Gunther versus Strowman, and I'm not really keen on that.
Well, as our biggest resident Kurt Angle fan, is there anything you're hoping for, Callum?
Nope.
Not even this has anything that you're interested in?
Is there anything?
It's just Kurt Angle going to be doing a birthday celebration, probably have some sort of promo with some heel, and either the heel will get embarrassed or Kurt Angle will get embarrassed, and then it will just move on. So I don't really care about any content that's going out on WWE in December because it's all shit.
And that is why I've said to Tony many times in private and on the air, yeah, I like the idea of December pay-per-views because we can't do this like 8 weeks of nothing between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble.
Even if they had a pay-per-view, it'd be nothing as well because they're not going to change things wildly before the Royal Rumble.
They used to. I guess they haven't done much in recent years, but I feel like back in the day, you used to get like, hey, we switched the belt in December, and now you've got something else.
As I say, I'm not super infused with the whole WWE product right now because I just think it's really, really boring. So, and I don't imagine this segment is going to change things around, especially because, like, as I'm one of Kurt Angle's biggest fans, and I think that, like, at his peak, he was the best wrestler that's ever walked the face of the earth. But he can't do that anymore, and what's left of his promo ability is dwindling. So I can't exactly say that I'm expecting this to be a barnstormer of a segment. I think it's going to be pretty much the same as that Alpha Academy segment, which wasn't very good.
I'm kind of hoping it leads more into something about the World Cup, and maybe we get a little bit of Imperium playing into the xenophobia stuff with Kurt Angle more than anything else. It could be a bloodline thing. I didn't even think really about the bloodline, but if it's
I would think any legend you have needs to go up against bloodline. I was surprised they didn't put DX up against the bloodline back in October.
That's true. They kind of purposely separated them.
I'm not even thinking that far ahead. I'm thinking it's something to do with maximum male models or something.
Well, that's what I was going to say was, I'd much rather them be with Bloodline or Imperium and do something with that than for somebody like Maximum Male Models. But if they go in that direction, I mean, like maybe they've got a funny joke. I don't know.
You know what, though? If anyone can do that, it's Kurt. Kurt can maybe pull out a fun segment from Maximum Male Models. Not what I would want to see, though.
Yeah, there's better ways of utilizing him. So let's talk AEW and round things out with ROH. Ricky Starks won the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal, and I've been told that it was a really good promo afterward, but I couldn't check it out because my recording from Spectrum, for some reason, I don't know if it was the box itself or
there was a bunch of people
that had the same exact. Okay, so that was a Spectrum thing. So middle fingers to you. That didn't come back until just about the end of the Samoa Joe match. So I haven't had a chance to go back and like find a different recording online or something of this. So I missed out on the entire Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. I don't know if it was good, bad. I don't know about this promo. I've heard some good things. So is it worth going back and double checking?
Yeah.
The Battle Royal was Battle Royal. You don't really need to check that out too much. It's just, following a few stories, it built up a rivalry between Kip Sabian and Orange Cassidy a little bit. It continued to talk about how kind of Matt Hardy is in some sort of like indentured servitude to Ethan Page and tried to help him get the victory, but Ricky Starks got the win instead. And then MJF came out, ran down Ricky Starks as a Rock wannabe, gave him the nickname The Pebble instead, which was fun. But then Ricky Starks just completely blew him out of the water on his promo, which is not something you say very often about MJF. The fact that the other guy completely smoked him, and it was great. Like, he just talked about how everything about MJF is cheap. He likes to find things in life, and he's looking for a big contract. Everything about him, like his cheap scarf, his cheap suits, his cheap shoes, his cheap heat, everything about him is cheap. And then he just continued to run him down constantly. Had so much fire and passion, and talking about his struggles and the way that he's gone to the top. He had to fight for everything, and how he's going to relieve MJF of the responsibility of being world champion next week. And yeah, even though it hasn't changed my opinion that obviously it's a pretty much foregone conclusion that MJF is not going to lose the world championship in his first defense, it's made me much more excited to what the way the match is going to go. And there might be a few near falls towards the end of the match that might just get my attention, because this segment was so good. It was the best thing that Ricky Starks has done since joining AEW.
This segment feels like what the original AEW was leading to. Two young guys who are getting the spotlight for the first time, and they're out there really flexing their muscles on the microphone. And it was the most core AEW thing I've seen not involving the Elite in like 2 years. This was really, really good and gave me some hope that, all right, maybe we don't have to go full-blown TNA if we lose all of the major stars that we were signing. Like, this was very, very good. Ricky Starks is a master on the mic. MJF is MJF. We always gush over him. This is fantastic.
And actually, one of the best things about it was post that. So MJF kicks him in the nuts after being tormented on the microphone, and he goes to hit him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring because. And that was the other aspect of it, is that because Ricky Starks won the match next week for the title was also for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So both things are on the line. It's like a all or nothing type match. Ricky Starks then ducked Diamond Ring and speared MJF out of his shoes. Like, literally, like, his shoes go flying from the spear. It was great. I don't know how they managed to put that together, but it was awesome.
That's been a thing in wrestling recently for some reason, where people keep like losing their shoes mid move. But yeah, easily, like I told you on Wednesday, go watch this. and then maybe go watch the match after this, because Joe and Darby might be my last minute pick for a TV match of the year.
Oh, that match was it was a murder. It was a pure unbridled murder in the ring of Samoa Joe just kicking the shit out of Darby Allin for ages and ages and ages. And Darby Allin just not going down. Like the spot where he throws him from the outside into the ring post, and Darby does like a 720 spin and hits the guardrail. It was just ridiculous. That was such a good match.
It was like they said, "Hey, can you just be Samoa Joe tonight?" And he went, "Yep." And
because I haven't really been super impressed with a lot of Joe's matches since he's joined AEW, but that one, and again, Darby Allin has that effect on people because literally he will allow his body to be thrown around every which way. So the guy he's facing just go, okay, fine, and just I'll do my stuff, and the other guy will do all the bumping work for me.
So I might go back and check that out, depending on if I have the time, obviously. That's good to hear. We got some other stuff happening on this episode with Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta beat Jake Hager in his glorious hat and Daniel Garcia, which set up a pre-taped, like, kind of like Dead Man Switch promo, essentially, where they tried to justify this as William Regal recorded a promo with Tony Schiavone of, hey, if anything happens to me, then air this promo.
You know what, though?
It's ridiculous.
Props, though. They tried something.
So he essentially said, yeah, I'm still Blackpool Combat Club, despite how I completely screwed over Jon Moxley, because I really wanted to teach everybody the lesson that you can't trust anybody. And adios, boys. I'll see you down the road. So, I mean, what's that?
Claudio saluted him. Moxley did the right thing as the guy who was betrayed. He looked very conflicted and then said, call us whatever you want. I don't care. I just want to fight somebody on Friday.
Mm-hmm. But she's going to have a match against Konosuke Takeshita,
which should be a lot of fun.
Yes, please.
And this is the way that they were completely, at this point, I'm assuming, writing off William Regal. It doesn't seem like he will pop up at any more points. We know he's coming back to WWE, but the terms of this now seem to be he's allowed to go back, but he is not allowed to be an on-screen character for at least a year.
Yes.
Which I'm not opposed to. I think that's a reasonable thing to say. And it's also kind of like, some of this is like semantics when it comes to, yeah, you're going to try to flex your muscles a little bit, and I understand it, but at the same time, if you're going to let him go back, you might as well just let him be on the TV show. Like, it's, what the hell does it matter? You're not going to lose anything from it, you know? But I can see why he being Tony Khan might just be like, yeah, but I got to get something out of this, and I got to try to prove that I'm not a complete pushover, you know?
So first of all, Tony Khan on the Ring of Honor Final Battle media call addressed a lot of things, including the fact that his own mother has undergone a lot of health issues, including strokes and a clot on her heart. And, you know, best wishes to that family, but also that's what led him to allowing Regal to go back, because Regal said, listen, look at where you are. Can you not understand why I want to be near my son? And he said, you're right. I do understand that. So I'll let you go back. The conditions are what they are. But Tony Khan basically confirmed, yeah, he's going to go be a coach. He's going to go back to be with his son. And I'm disappointed that we won't get more of the Blackpool Combat Club and more of Regal and Excalibur eventually breaking the sexual tension between them. But, you know, this was a very human decision, and I applaud everyone involved for acting like adults.
Yeah, I think that it seems to be a final conclusion that everyone is satisfied with. Regal gets to go back to WWE, which I don't think he ever wanted to leave in the first place. He got to have a fun run in AEW, got to be back on screen in a more prominent featured role for a little bit of time, got to help put some talent over then he's going to go back because he has a good relationship with Triple H. He probably never wanted to leave WWE at all, so now he's got the opportunity to go back. He can stay in a backstage role. He can help train his son. And yeah, maybe by 2024, we'll see him back on screen in some capacity as a general manager or something like that, or as just the manager for Charlie Dempsey.
Yeah, could be that.
Which would be weird. Which would be weird if like he brings him up as Charlie Dempsey and they still treat him as though it's his son. But why isn't he called Regal then?
I'll tell you what I would do in that scenario. I would keep this Charlie Dempsey name, and I'd eventually have William Regal effectively knight him with the Regal name. Like, you needed to earn the Regal name. You were Dempsey because I don't know if that's like maybe his mother's maiden name or something like that. I don't know if there's a connection between that, but be like, you want to call yourself a Regal, you needed to earn it. Now that you've won the North American title or whatever it is that they do for this transition, it'll be like, you can now be, I don't know, Bailey Regal or Darren Regal or whatever the fuck you want to call him. I don't know. You probably can't go Steven Regal, but hey, man, you maybe could at this point. But
William Regal II.
William Regal II, yeah. Lord William Regal II. Perfect way to do that if you want to do that.
One thing I do want to ask, though, and again, maybe this is just a complete hypothetical, and I do give William Regal a lot of credit as a guy that has a lot of credibility and a lot of honor about him. But what do you think the chances are that they actually renege on this year out of TV deal?
I don't think they do. I think Regal's very honorable.
You mean that WWE will just be like, well, let's just put him on there anyway?
Yeah.
I think it depends on whether or not it's in writing. Because obviously, if they have some sort of legal means where they're just going to say, like, you will agree to the term that you cannot appear on TV until January 8th or whatever the fuck it would be of 2024, then I can see them being like, all right, well, we just can't, But
again, maybe it's just my mindset. Maybe this era of management won't be as petty as the previous one has been. But I could totally imagine in a Vince McMahon run company that they would just put him on TV, swallow the legal costs, because it would make Tony Khan look like a petty, like very petty if he goes after WWE for reneging on that deal.
I mean, I could see the old regime flat out doing it just for the sake of doing it. Like, not even remembering that it's a thing. Like, Vince could be backstage and go, well, God damn it, we've got William Regal. Why aren't we using him? And then they go, well, Vince, we're not supposed to be allowed. And he'll go, fucking just do it.
Tony Khan seems to give off the impression a lot that maybe he liked the older regime more than this one in terms of dealing with them. So I don't know. It's pretty interesting whenever he talks about them.
Could be one of those things where he's like, I can't wait until Hunter's in charge because it'll be easier. Oh, fuck, wait, it's not what I'm expecting. Well, I like the old ones. I like the Devil I Know more than the Devil I Don't Know. But that's just leading into the dissolution of the Blackpool Combat Club even more. At this point, they might as well rename them. I don't know. I don't even think they're really even going to be a thing going into 2023 for the most part. But okay, we got lots of sirens. Sorry about this, everybody. I can't mute it. We had this trios match. Jade Cargill and the Baddies beat Madison Rayne, Sky Blue, and Kiera Hogan. Just a match. Nothing really to talk about there.
I believe this pads Jade's number, doesn't it?
Yeah, she's 43-0 now.
Yeah. So yeah, it does serve a purpose.
And the Acclaimed retained the AEW World Tag Team titles over FTR.
Hold on, just because there was another segment where they announced, like, in mid-January that Saraya and Britt Baker will be on opposite ends of a regular tag team match where Saraya will have a mystery partner. And part of me goes, that's way too far out for just a normal tag match. And another part of me says, okay, so start the rumor mill
for Sasha Banks.
Saraya. I mean, it could be. I wasn't even necessarily thinking her. Right now, I'm thinking that she's going to be busy doing other things in January.
Well, if you had to venture a guess, who you think would be if it's not Sasha?
Seeing as if it's not Sasha, maybe her mom. That'd be fun, right?
Her mom's still wrestling?
Could be. Ric Flair's still wrestling. Like,
Well, yeah. Could, still, shouldn't. There's a lot of ways. I guess it's from you, Callum. You think we're gonna get Mercedes Moné in there?
There's always a possibility. Again, if she is doing the thing that people expect that she will do in early January, then she would only be there for the 4th. So that leaves a lot of the rest of the time that she can come back to America and do something there. If not, I'd say potentially Thunder Rosa.
You know what?
How far is Rosa from returning?
Who knows? She doesn't even know.
She doesn't even know, but she has said she's aiming for January. And Britt is on the other side of the ring, and so is the women's world champion. I'd feel comfortable saying Thunder Rosa. Yeah, I would say Rosa.
Well, that led to the tag team title match. As I said, FTR came up short, and just a clean win for the Acclaimed, which is good to see. And we got 2 more matches added to the ROH card to talk about when it comes to adding some more predictions in there. One being a 6-man tag team championship match between Dalton Castle and the Boys against the Embassy, as we were kind of expecting could be the case. So I think we already had even given our predictions for that we all think that the Embassy would win that, right?
Yep.
But we also got, instead of FTR against the Gun Club that we were thinking.
What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you they're just going to run the Briscoes again?
Yeah, I'm disappointed that that's happening, but at the same time, it seems like it could be kind of fun because it's a double dog collar match. Briscoes against FTR for the ROH World Tag Team titles. So there's that part of me that goes, man, 3 of these matches are just kind of, let's just do the match again. But you added a double dog collar thing to it, and I think I always say is, as long as you add a gimmick to freshen it up, I'm going to be less harsh on that. So these guys could beat the crap out of each other. It could be a lot of fun.
I'm looking so forward to this match. I hate the fact that for whatever reason, Warner Media is like, on the Briscoes, because they wouldn't even let them show up to run a vignette to challenge them. You just had the Gun Club open up Christmas gifts that say, "Love dem boys," and it's dog collars. Whatever. This match is going to rule. Sign me up.
Yeah, as I say, it feels a little bit weird that they haven't managed to build up any other tag teams to really take on FTR, but Briscoes are a great choice. They've had fantastic chemistry with FTR, so I imagine this 3rd match in their trilogy will be excellent as well. I think there's a very good possibility the Briscoes win the titles here.
Yes, sir.
Because now that FTR have ended their kind of year-long quest of being the AEW Tag Team Championship #1 contenders and had their opportunity and lost clean, it means that I think the process of slowly whittling the belts away from them now has begun. You've got this show coming up where they could lose the ROH title. You've got January the 4th show, Wrestle Kingdom, where they'll probably drop the IWGP Tag Team Championships. I imagine there's a big AAA show coming up soon as well, where they could even lose those. I think we could see at least by end of January, early February, FTR with no titles.
Well, their deal, I think, comes up in April.
Yeah, and they have already had talks and interviews giving the idea that they might essentially just not sign with any major company once that deal was expired, just work on the indies for a year or so and then explore their options after that point. Because apparently they're really enjoying the extra level of freedom that AEW has given them to work the indies and really starting to enjoy the independent circuit. So I could see them doing that. I think they're probably in a good financial position considering they've been working with WWE and AEW for the past plenty of years, like 8-9 years or so. So I'm sure they're in a stable enough position that they could just work the indies, and the indies would pay them huge amounts of money to show up in those shows. They could do some things with New Japan. They could still do stuff with AAA, pretty much anybody for like some one-off matches. And then once they've done that, they've had their fill of that, they can just move on to another promotion. Like WWE will snap their arms off, AEW would snap their hands off to sign them, give them even more money than they were on before, and everyone's happy.
I am thinking that there's a very good chance that the Briscoes win these belts. And for similar reasons, I think that by April, they might still have the AAA titles, but I think that you're not going to see them with the ROH ones or the New Japan ones. And I don't know who like the next IWGP tag team champions would be or whatever, but the Briscoes, if they're not the ROH tag team champions, it seems kind of strange for there to be a different kind of spot for the Briscoes in my mind. At least for an outsider's perspective, it's like, all right, Briscoes are the tag team, and then what? They're not going to go into singles competition. So
well, they do go into singles competition on occasion, but I think that more than anything, they're going to win because they're signed exclusively to Ring of Honor and not AEW, and I think Ring of Honor is ready for TV.
Of course, we'll figure out if there's any announcements tomorrow with that. But I am also going to say that I think that by the end of 2023, we're going to get the revival back in WWE. We'll see. So we are all, I think, going Briscoes, right?
Yep, I think so.
So tomorrow we'll figure that out. The start time is 3 p.m. Eastern for the pre-show, which currently still doesn't have any matches announced for the 0 hour, but they might just on Rampage tonight be like, hey, by the way, here's like 10 more matches. And then I'll be like, fuck, all right. But if they do, of course, you'll see more information about that reflected on smarkmoment.com. And the live coverage will be on SOM. The live coverage will also be on EWN. And I'll also have eventually the write-up of like the best and worst booking decisions for both the pay-per-views coming up on Bleacher Report. But stay tuned more than anything else to the post-show that'll be happening after Final Battle, before NXT, and then after NXT. A lot of podcasts coming your way. And also start writing up your lists for the end of the year, because next week we are going to be recording our AEW and WWE best and worst of the year lists. And they'll be posted over the course of the end of December, following what the next main event is, which we already pre-recorded, which is the follow-up of our main, mock draft of the Survivor Series teams. So that was fun. We got some interesting stuff going on for that. Stay tuned for, I think it's Wednesday at like noon is when I scheduled it for. So you'll get the information. It'll be up on your subscription list, because if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, then that's your fault. Why are you doing it wrong? That's what you should do. And that'll be up on smarkoutmoment.com and everything else like that. Make sure that you follow us at smarkoutmoment all over the place. Go to fanboysanonymous.com to check out everything that's happening there and show more support for that by subscribing to that Patreon or that channel membership on YouTube, or buying some merchandise or whatever, because the more fanboys content, the better. That's definitely something that makes me happy. And if you go to amangotree.com or anthonymango.com or my link tree or whatever, it all goes to the same spot. You'll see lots of different links there, including my personal accounts at Tony Mango, and even my LinkedIn, and even my Letterboxd. And I might add some more things into there over the course of the next couple of months. I don't know. I'm not gonna add an OnlyFans. Don't worry. And if you are following what these guys are up to, you'll see some interesting stuff too. Hopefully not an OnlyFans from either of these, but I don't know what they have in store. Rob?
I would be very interested in what Callum could come up with for that. But you can follow me everywhere at Dude Police. You can check out all my stuff on Fightful, Inside the Ropes, and WrestleZone. As always, stay tuned for dudepolice.com. Will it be up before the end of the year? Tony, what do you think?
I'm gonna vote no.
All right. Then it will be.
The revival will be back in WWE before. No, I'm just kidding.
That would be interesting. But yeah. So check out all my stuff there. We'll be covering all the shows for Fightful tomorrow. And yeah, as always, I appreciate the support. And now I turn you over to Callum Wiggins.
You can find me on Twitter, and only on Twitter, at WigWesterFulton. And you can check out my writings on Smark at Moment by checking out the power rankings every single week. And you can also follow the Fantasy League, either going through Smark at Moment or at WWE Fantasy League, WWEFantasyLeague.com. And yeah, you can just see how all of our teams are doing as points are updated on a week-to-week basis. So, yep, that's all my stuff.
So you heard confirmation here. If you see onlyfans.com/wigmeister14, it's an imposter account. Don't sign up for it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's it for the hot tags. Thank you for listening to this as always, and thank you for whatever support it is that you toss our way, including that like button. And we will see you next time, everyone. We got 2 coming up tomorrow. Stay tuned for that and join us live. Adios for now, though. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.